Morning.
Morning, Elazar.
How you doing? Beautiful day out, huh?
Nice. It's cooler.
Wonderful.
First time that that the weather's changed a little bit.
Good.
Hi, Harold.
Oh, hi, Ronnie. Hi.
We're on Nun Ches 58. We're talking about mumim, that one of the reasons that if a Israelis marries, is given kiddushin by a Kohen, she can't eat truma until she actually gets married with chuppah, is because maybe she has secret mumim. And then when he actually lives with her, he'll have realized, well, I really didn't want to marry her because of that. And it's a kiddushin to'us. And she's ended up eating truma incorrectly. We brought the same thing about an eved, where we said, why don't we worry about an eved? If a Kohen buys an eved, that eventually he's going to find mumim and not going to want to have him, because if he has external mumim, he'll see and won't buy him. We don't care about internal mumim in hidden places by an eved, because it doesn't have intimate relations with him in that way. He doesn't care. What about nimtza ganav of kuvyustus? If he's found to be a thief or a kidnapper, misachik bekubya, he's a gambler. Higio, it doesn't make a difference. A buyer who buys such an eved, you can't buy he cannot be mevatel the sale, because that's not a kind of mum that would be botel. Rashi quotes a brisa in Bava Basra that the sale goes through. Everybody is a ganef, an eved kanani, stam ganefu. So everyone knows it's not a secret. Therefore, you can't claim mekach tos. Ma'ika. So what would be a defect in an eved that you purchased that would constitute grounds for reversal of a sale? If he's a armed robber, or they found out that he's been made guilty to the malchus to be executed. But Hanu Kaliyaslu, those things have a call. Everyone knows about those things. If he bought them anyways, there's no bitul mekach either, says the Gemara. So michte bein lamar vein lamar lo achla. Now, whether you hold it's a problem for a Jewish girl who gets married to a Kohen to eat truma right when she gets kiddushin only So we had two svaras. One is she's going to bring a cup of wine back to her brothers or sisters who are not Kohanim. The other is because these mumim. I mean, what's the nafkamina? I mean, both don't allow them to eat truma. Bein lamar loach lamar binayu. It could be nayu ki be'el mosar v'holach. If from advance the Baal had accepted the mumim, then you still have the problem that she's going to take a cup of wine, give it to her brothers and sisters. Or if the father had married off the girl and given the girl to the shaliach of the Baal, then there's no worry that by kiddushin, and then they're on the way to nisuin. So she's not in her father's house. There's no worry about taking the cup of wine home, giving to brothers and sisters. You have the worry of simpon, of mumim. So that's the ikibinayu. Rav Tarfon Noimer, noisullah kol truma. That when you do get married, you can give the wife, let's say she needs $100 a week, you can give her it all in truma. And the other mandomer said, no, you give only half, $50 worth of truma, $50 of chulin, because if she becomes a nida and you can't eat truma, it's hard for her to sell truma. It can only be sold to kohanim, less value. So give her chulin as well, so she'll have something to eat during the period of time when she's tummy. This machlokes exists when a bas kohen, who is normally used to eating truma in her father's house, gets married to a kohen. Of a bas Yisrael kohen, who's not normally used to eating truma, divrei kol mechza chulin mechza truma. Everybody would hold you have to give her some chulin because she doesn't know how to. Rashi says a bas kohen is bekiyahi b'shmiras truma, and the moichrab is made tuma. She's used to selling truma when she's tamei. It's not a problem for her. Bas Yisrael is not bekiya with that. Kayin amachi. Rabbi Machlokes barusa. Machlokes is when kiddushin, where we're worried about her bringing it home. Avol b'nesua divrei kol mechza chulin mechza truma. By bas kohen, the hoil v'hi b'veis avia, torach avia limkor truma b'chulin lemei tuma. Her father will help her sell the truma to get chulin when she's tamei, because he's ragil b'kach. The father is used to doing that. Avol b'nesua Rashi shenoisen labala mizonos b'veisa. There, when she's moved into her husband's house, and the husband is giving her mizonos from her house, then you have to give the bas kohen chulin as well. It's not so simple. Tanya Mahachi. There's a baraisa to support this version. If Tarfon Omer noisullah kol truma, she gets the whole thing in truma. V'kiv Omer mechza chulin mechza truma. When? B'medvar when bas kohen l'kohen. Only a bas kohen. Aval bas Yisrael l'kohen divrei kol mechza chulin mechza truma. B'medvar barusa. And that's only when she's got kiddushin only. Aval b'nesua divrei kol mechza chulin mechza truma, which is exactly the way Abaya had explained. Okay. Now, the baraisa we quoted continues. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira Omer, noisun lo shtei yodei shel truma, v'acha shel chulin. 2/3, 1/3. Rashi explains Bain Rabbi Yehuda Rab Tarfon Ika Rabbi Yehuda and Rav Tarfon would you'd see enough kamina the ilu Rav Tarfon sermon noisla truma kedei mizonoseha. You give her the equal. You give her the amount of truma, meaning the amount that she gets mizonos, the $100. V'afal pishim tzricha lechulin, but she needs some chulin. Ubal limkor truma. She has to come to sell the truma. Ein dmei truma magin likach ben chulin. Truma is sold at a discount because you only have purchasers who are kohanim. So it's market, supply and demand. So you get much less money. She doesn't get enough to buy the chulin. Sharei yikar me'emin truma. Chulin is more expensive than truma. Shakol koif salem. Everyone can purchase chulin. Now, what's Rabbi Yehuda noisen la truma kishir she'im bos likach mechza chulin lo tivchos min dmei machzas chulin. You have to give her more truma in order that she can buy, so she'll have 50-50, right? She gets 2/3 truma, 1/3 chulin, because it's not even Steven. She needs to sell more truma to get the amount of chulin that she needs. Rabbi Yehuda noisen la kol truma. The moches l'kachas b'damim chulin. Rabbi Yehuda says you give her all truma, and that'll be enough to give her whatever chulin she needs. Rav Shimon Omer kol mokum shuskra truma noisen la kiflayim b'chulin. You actually give her double. You need to sell. It devalues so much. You got to give her 200%. It might be nice. It can be nice with tircha. Only difference is how much work she has to do to sell the truma. Rav Shimon gives her so much more, so she doesn't have to do the tircha. Then the Gemara says, "Hayavim eino machal truma." If Reuven dies and the woman falls to Shimon for yibum, both Reuven and Shimon were kohanim. The Yavim is not Michael Truma. My time. The Shimon never made a kinyan. We're talking about she's a lading and waiting. He hasn't done yibum yet. Once he does yibum, of course, she'll be able to eat truma. Or just wait in the waiting period, she won't be able to continue eating truma. Then the Mishnah said, if she spends 6 months as kiddushin with the husband, once there's a tviyah to get married, there's a request to get married. Then later it says, even if she spent 11 months, 29 days, you still don't eat if they are Yavim a boy. So there's no shaila that she wouldn't eat in front of the Yavim if she fell Yibum. So it's a structure of Zuvein Tzarech Lamer Zuktani. This, and you certainly don't have to say anything about Yavim. And then we had all these diyunim about after 12 months, she could start eating, like if he didn't marry her yet. And then the Mishnah said at the end, Zu Mishnah Achrona, or Zu Mishnah Rishona. But later on, they made a general Tanai that the woman only eats when she goes to chuppah. My time. Amar Ula Vitem Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda Mishum Simpon. Because we're worried about a mum, and he's going to live with her and find mumim, and the nisuin will be batul. She ate truma shelo kedin. So bishmal ula kamaisa. So I understand there need to be two reasons. The initial reason was the kiddushin. She could still go back to her father's house and shema yimzgula kospavesavi and give her to her brothers. And then basraisa, the later reason needed to be different mishum simpon, because now they're going to live together, and if she has mumim, he won't like it. El Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda, where there were that the reason for the first Mishnah was also simpon. So I don't understand. Kamais mishum simpon or basrais mishum simpon. What's the added reason when she gets married. My binayu. Ikibina b'dikas chutz. The bedika that we said that the relatives do, they check her before they give her over to the guy to get married. They couldn't do an internal examination. They only checked her on the outside. So, Marsar b'dikas chutz shma b'dika. One Mandomer holds that since he now made a request to marry her, and since the relatives did a bedika, okay, it wasn't an internal bedika, still a bedika. They would have found most mumim that he'd be offended by, so that's enough. And so she's considered already neshasish k'ni truma. Marsav bedika is chutz lo shma bedika. The other Mandomer holds that's not considered good enough bedika, because when they're undressed and having relations, he might find other mumim that will disgust him, and then he will regret marrying her, and it'll be a mekach tos, and her eating truma will all be shelo kedin. Mishnah. Hamagdish maisi de ishto. We've learned that the husband obtains the rights to her earnings. And what if he makes a statement, I want all my wife's earnings to go to the Beis Hamikdash? Well, normally when you're magdish something, you can't have anoah. Belongs to the Beis Hamikdash. So what is, and remember, in return for the Maaseh Yadayim, she gets mizonos. So do we say that since the Maaseh Yadayim are flowing to the Beis Hamikdash, not to the husband doesn't have the chiyuv anymore to feed her? So the Mishnah says, Harezu oisav oichelas. So no, she continues to eat what she, in equation, in equality to what she earns. And in fact, the Maaseh Yadayim don't become hegdish, because he can't take a, can only be magdish something that's completely your own, and this is not his. There's a t'nai in the ksuba that in relation to how much she earns, he has to provide parnasa. He can't take that parnasa away from her, and therefore, what's the Maaseh Yadayim don't become hegdish. And the machloikes, and we'll see there is a machloikes, is hamoiser. Let's say she needs $50 to eat, and $50 is extra, pocket money. So that moiser of Meir Oimer Hegdish, so anything above the amount that she needs to eat will go to Hegdish. Rabbi Yochanan Sander Oimer Chulin says no. Rashi, Harezu Oisav Oichelas, Ein Maaseh Yadeh Kodesh Al Piv. And a moiser, Higdish is moiser, Maaseh de Ishto. The machlokas is only if he actually verbalizes and says, I want to be magdish the moiser, the extra. So Mashi Oyster Lo, Yoiser La Roy, Shaposko Chachamim. The Chachamim created a standard how much a woman needs. And if he was magdish, that the beyond the standard, that amount of money goes to Hegdish, but v'lo higdish maisi yodeh atzman. What she earns remains untouched. Hamoiser konu loy b'mo kesef shetiknu lo chachamim sheyitin la b'chol Shabbos mo kesef l'tzorchea. The chachamim made a takana mo kesef for mizonos for a week, so that he actually gets a kinyan on, and anything above that, Levada Mizonos, right? Yet there's still a machloikis between Rav Meir and Rav Yochanan Sandler. We'll have to see what the Gemara says the machloikis is all about. Amar Rav Amar Rav. Yechola isha loimer labayla, eini nizenes ve'eini oisa. Listen, I'm a neurosurgeon. I make $20,000. Hello? I make $20,000 a week, not more kesef, which is $100. You keep your mizonos. I'll keep what I earn for myself. She's allowed to do that, says Ravun Amarav. At the major takana between the Baal and the Isha, the takana was the mizonos. That it's irregardless of her ma'asiyadayim. He has to provide mizonos. Later on, they saw that the husbands were upset about it. So later on, ma'asiyadayim mishum eva. Because they might come to hatred. The husband is sick and tired of providing mizonos. So they said, okay, you can mollify the upset feelings of the husband by giving him the ma'asiyadayim. So but if she is mavater on it, says I don't need it, harishus biyoda, because the ikr takana of the ma'asiyadayim flowing to the Baal, according to Rav Huna, was only a secondary takana. It's not the primary takana. So the Gemara brings a proof not like that. Meisvei. Tiknu mizonos tachas ma'asiyadayim. So it sounds like originally, it's part of the original takana that the mizonos were provided because of the ma'asiyadayim. So, Ema, you have to save Rav Huna. Ema, you have to amend and say that the Brisa said tiknu ma'asiyadayim tachas mizonos. That first there was mizonos, that because of Eva, they were misakein that the ma'asiyadayim flows to him. And lema Messiah lay. In fact, let us say that the following supports Rav Huna, that the Iker Takana was for Mizonos and the Ma'asiyadayim came later. Magdish Ma'asiyadei Ishta, our Mishnah, where someone is metaken the Ma'asiyadayim Magdish, Rehi Oisav Oichelas. She continues to eat. My love, v'nizonos. What are we talking about? It's a case where she's eating from the Baal. And in a case where she's mavater on everything, then the Ma'asiyadayim is not in his rishus to be magdashit. And that's why in the ratio of the Mishnah, it's not hegdish. The Gemara says, lo b'shein in his zaynas. Could be a case where she's not getting mizonos, and therefore he has nothing to do with the ma'asiyadayim, and therefore that's why it's not hugdish. Frank the Gemara b'shein in his zaynas ma'ila meima. So what's the chiddush? Because we learned if you buy Nevid Knani, you're allowed to tell him, I don't have to feed you. You work for me. You go knock on doors. So that would imply maybe it's the same thing by a wife. Or that's by an Eved Knani. But an Eved Ivri, he has to be like you. So you have to give him food. So the problem is the Seifa. Or the Chiddush is the Seifa. There where it said Moiser, the excess beyond the minimum she needs. What's the machlokes? Plikid Reish Lakish, Dam Reish Lakish. Lo temetam Rav Meir mishum d'ksover, odem magdish davar shlo b'lo olam. There is a concept that you can't do a kinyan on something that doesn't exist in the world yet. Now, her future earnings don't exist right now. Maybe the machlokes between Rav Meir and Rabbi Yochanan Sandler is Rav Meir holds you can have a kinyan. It's something that's not here yet. So he could be magdish, which is a kinyan, future earnings. And Rabbi Yochanan Sandler says you can't. So Reish Lakish says, lo tema. Don't say that that's the reason for the machlokas. At the time of the mayor, he talks sheyachal koifel l'maisiyadeh. He can force her to work. Nice nasa ka'omer lo yikatri yadach lo yisayim. When he talks about being magdish, he's talking about being magdish her hands, because her hands are the ones working, and they're around. And the hegdish is chal, al something that's in the world. And Reish Lakish says he can force her, so he cannot say, she cannot say, I'm not nizin, vena oisa, because he can force her. So the Gemara says, but we don't see that he said, Maisi Yadayach Yikachu. He said, Maisi Deishto. Right? So, Kivan the Shemin Leil Rav Meir Domer, Ein Adam Moitzi Dvar Levatola. Person doesn't open up his mouth and say something. It's Nasik Omer Yikachu Yadayach, Lord say him. It's as if he was Magdish her hands. Because we know that you're not Magdish something that doesn't exist in the world. Freak the Gemara of the Sofer of Meir and other Magdish Davish Lo. So does Rav Meir hold that you can't be Magdish something that's not here yet? Batanya. Be Makadish me after I convert. Or after you convert. Or after that I'm freed as an Eved Knani. Or after that you're freed. Or or after your husband dies, which is on the future. Or shetamus achosech, I'm married to your sister, and I give you kiddushin. I say after your sister dies, this is kiddushin. Or after your vamech gives you chlitza. Rameir says these things work if these things happen.
I'm just curious, Ernie, why you need so many examples of this of what it's obvious of the one or two? Do you know?
Because maybe you think that maybe for Esgayer it works, but for Shichur it doesn't work. Or maybe, it gives you every situation of future. These are big chidushim. Here, I'm married, here's a married woman. I give her kiddushin now. I say the kiddushin should be chal after the death of your husband. So you might think that it's not chal because she's Neshes Ish now. So Rameir says if it eventually happens that the husband does die, the kiddushin is chal. It's all examples of future events. And Johnny asks good, but it must be that there's a reason why each one had to be mentioned, because maybe if I only learned that, I wouldn't have learned that.
Because you're learning the concept of futures, which applies to all the cases, so whatever.
Right? Yeah, but each case is a little different. Here she's an Eved. Here she's not Jewish. L'chora, they're all similar.
Okay.
So in a Chanami, says the Gemara, Me'ahi in. From that barais, you can learn that Rav Meir holds that you're makna davar shelo baloila. But from our case, me'hol lekla mishmeinei. That's all. Hamoiser. So then the Mishnah said that the machlokas is on the extra, anything beyond ma kesef. And if you say that, Rav Meir Omer Hegdish. Now, Amos Kodesh, when does it become Hegdish? The moiser. Ravish will never to be moiser la'achar misa Kodesh. Even the moiser only becomes Hegdish after the woman's death. Ravada Baravama moiser mechayim Kodesh. No, even while she's alive and working every week, the moiser becomes Hegdish right away. Havi Rav Papa. Rav Papa was analyzing this. He had a problem with it. B'mai. What exactly we talked about? Are we talking about a case where he's giving her the ma kesef a week for her food, and then any extra for her other needs. So then it's clearly, the extra is clearly not related to mezainos. So that's clearly his money. And then therefore my time that it's only hegdish after her death. It should be hegdish even while she's alive, because it's not has anything to do with the mezainos. The moiser is identifiable every week as moiser. We must be talking about a case where he's not giving her mezainos. And he's not giving, and she has to earn everything by herself. Well, then the obvious question is, my time at the Mandam Mechaim Kodesh. Why would anyone say that while she's still alive, and he had said, Ma'aseh Yadayim or Moiser is Hegdish, he's not giving her anything. So how would he have the part to be Magdashit? So the more answer, Loilam b'maylam mezoinos. He's giving her mezoinos. He's not giving her any extra. And then Rabbi Shmuel Savri, Tiknu mezoinos tachas ma'aseh yadeh u'mal kesef tachas moiser. Okay, well, this we'll learn tomorrow. Okay.
But every minute that she earns the moser becomes hegdish, or do we wait till the end of the week or a period of time? In other words, can she nibble on this stuff let's say she's grown wheat or she's grown fruit? Can she have some as she goes along, or she has to give everything as soon as she picks it goes automatically to hegdish?
She certainly can nibble because the mezainos are hers. She can, the mezainos are hers from day one, and the extra maybe you'd have to wait at the end of the week to see what the total moiser is going to be.
So in the meantime, she could keep that until she makes the cheshbon.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways, I just want to go. For you guys, it's Monday night. For me, it's Tuesday morning. So tomorrow morning we'll learn Sorba at 6:00, meaning my time. We'll learn it at 8:00, 8 p.m. like regular, Sorba. And then we'll learn the Daf Yomi at 9:00, which is 7:00 my time.
Walter told me to tell you that he went to listen to Rabbi Willig. That's why he's not here.
Mordechai Willig? Mordechai is
the Rosh Yeshiva.
The Rosh Yeshiva.
He spoke at Young Israel tonight, 9 p.m.
Yeah, because he's No, Rabbi Segeman learned at Turo. Okay, very nice. What did he speak about, Rabbi Willing?
I wasn't there. I'm here. It was either or.
Good answer.
Okay.
You got it. You win the prize.
Oh, thank you very much, John.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night. Good day.
What?
Yeah.
Hello?
What?
Yeah.
So I went to Susie and I went to visit Zichron Yaakov.
Oh, the winery?
The winery?
There is a winery there, but people have told us it's a nice place to live.
Oh.
It is. It's a beautiful place. It's like very hippy dippy. It's up in the mountains. It's got a beautiful view of the ocean. Beautiful homes up there. It's sort of out of the way. There's not a lot to do up there. People are very relaxed. Let's put it that way.
You can own a winery.
There's a bunch of the Tishbe is there. There's a bunch of wineries there. So then we were in Caesarea on the way back. Have you all been to Caesarea? The Roman
Caesarea is beautiful.
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah.
I stayed the last trip with the kids at the Dan Caesarea. Wonderful place.
Oh, it's
fantastic.
Right next. It's got a golf course on its. That's the one
next
golf
door.
course.
It's
Right.
next door to it. Yeah.
It's not on the water, but you can see the water.
Yeah. It's a great place. We went to the Crusaders Castle, which is not
Yes,
far.
yes, it's very nice.
And there's a great kosher restaurant there in the Crusaders Castle.
Okay.
All righty.
Good night.
Enjoy.
good
one.
Enjoy. Bye.
Have a good night. Good night.